It is time to go for gold. The final heat of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Championships in St. Moritz in Switzerland. For 125 years, they've been racing down the valley to the neighbouring village of Celerina, and they continue to do so on the only natural track on the planet. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Martin Haven and Bree Walker from Australia's bobsleigh team, looking at the final action. And a bit of a dramatic start to our heat today in the third heat for our Olympic champion, Lara Nolte.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking to see. She was doing so well up into Horseshoe. She had a crash there in training and she just made the same mistake, drove it down far too hard, and it ultimately cost her the race.
A lot of empathy from the other athletes down there at the bottom. They are okay. It wasn't as hard a crash, I hear from Stefan Bosch, as during training. But that means that a four-time world champion, a two-time Olympic champion in women's bobsleigh, Kaylee Humphries, is in the medals.
And she laid down an absolute run here with equaling the fastest heat of that run. And so we'll see how it ends up in the last heat.
Still did not look happy with it. Our overnight leader was Kim Kilicki. She led by 0.05 of a second after 2 trips down this 1,850-metre track. She's now 0.06 off the lead.
Yeah, Lisa had a very good run there, but ultimately Kim Kilicki came through in that third heat to take the lead.
Well, for the third time, Kim Kilicki and Leonie Fiebig set the fastest start of the competition, and Kilicki just creeping 0.06 in front. The question now, though, is, will either of our two German drivers make a mistake? They go in reverse order, so Kaylee has the final word, and then they have to respond to the pressure of having a double Olympic and 4-time world champion potentially laying down an absolute smoker. And neither of them have won a world championship before as drivers, so there can be a lot of pressure going into those final 2 runs.
For sure. Kaylee has so much experience in these 4 heat races, and Lisa is very new to this kind of driving. So it's going to be very interesting to see if she can hold her head and hold that position. But we know that Kim is very consistent, very experienced. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how those top 3 end up in this 4th heat.
Well, you saw them there being greeted by Riley Compton. Kaylee Humphries was not happy with that third run. It was her best down the track. I think she expected a bit more. She did have top speed at the bottom. It was clean enough, but not clean enough for Kaylee. Air temperature hovering around 2 degrees. There is still perhaps a tiny threat of snow in the air, and the ice temperature, I can't remember a time where I've seen the ice temperature hovering around 0 here. You know, this is Winterberg conditions. Normally in St. Moritz it'll be -12, -15 after an overnight low of somewhere around -18 to -20 last night was very mild. A tiny bit of snow first thing this morning. So very different conditions from training. And if that's going to play to experience, then again, that's something that Kaylee Humphries may be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, definitely. Kaylee here is the most experienced. What did you say before? She's been sliding here since...
First race here as a driver, 2007.
Crazy. Some of these girls were probably just babies here.
Yeah.
I know I was just entering high school. So Kaylee has been around for a very long time and going to be looking for that experience to be able to get her up into that top position. But Lisa has been having such an unbelievable World Championships. She came 3rd in the mono, had a really good first day here, but you never know with Kim Kilicki. She's very consistent, won here last year, so we are in for a hell of a race here.
We really are. It is a 1-heat race for gold. Georgeta Popescu will start us off. All of our 18 remaining sleds go in reverse order of their current standings. So Georgeta Popescu, the youth Olympic champion in Monobob, 3 years ago, February 2020. She will be first off, and the last to go will be the medal contenders. Kaylee Humphries will need to put down absolute storming run in the final heat to really turn the screw on Lisa Bokvitz and Kim Kilicki, who will be the last to go. If there is snow in the air, that may play a part as well. The track will definitely feel very, very different to the drivers from anything they had in training. 4th final deciding run of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Championships 2023. We're in St. Moritz in the final weekend of what has been a gala of bobsleigh, skeleton and parasport World Championship action. Martin Haven with Brianna Walker alongside me. Bri raced to 4th place, her career high in World Championships and the Monobob last week on this track. Perhaps the trickiest St. Moritz track I've seen in 22 seasons of coming here. And we are into the final runs. Our Youth Olympic champion 2020, Romania's Georgeta Popescu, with her brakewoman Antonia Sabu behind her, who also drove in the games here 3 years ago.
Great to see these guys having such a good World Championships. Like we've said in previous heats, it's about experience in these 4-heat events. Bit of a skid coming out of the lines there as she heads down. She can't quite get the sled under control, but she's heading straight now down into the wall corner, steering it quite hard to try and get that early entry into wall. Not bad through there, a little bit high, but manages to squeeze it away from the wall as she heads into the snakes.
It's all about slowing everything down in your head. The steers have to be so gradual to stop the sled breaking into a skid.
Definitely. Really here in St. Moritz, you have to be nice and smooth with your driving. And she isn't doing too bad. Bit of a medium line as she comes around Horseshoe now into Telephone and Shamrock.
Little
Hard
late
hit
flop.
there.
But she's driving really nicely now, feeling the grip. And as the ice is less cold, there's more grip for the runners, more purchase.
Not too bad. A little bit early off these bottom corners, getting a bit of a tap heading into Martineau.
Still.
Not too bad off there. She heads into the final corner here to finish her World Championships in 1 minute, 10 seconds and 31.
Well, 1:10:31, 70 seconds it takes to get down here. When we go to Innsbruck next week, it'll be about 45. So you just get an awful lot more bang for your buck here. Mind you, you spend an awful lot more bucks in St. Moritz than you do in Innsbruck as well. So Georgeta Popescu has completed her first World Championships.
Just squeezing the sled right, and she's really had to steer it hard so she doesn't make too much of an impact on the wall there. Really high off the end of Shamrock as she goes into Devil's Dyke, but not too bad. Well done, girls. Congratulations on your first World Championships.
Well, her first experience of St. Moritz was in the Youth Olympic Games. I'm sure there was even more going on around than there is here in the world, so she's probably not been fazed by that. Another rookie in our field was Poland's Linda Wyszewski, with her brakewoman Maria Zandeka. Linda, just 23 years of age. I said she has only started 5 races before this weekend, crashed out of one of them, and her brakewoman Marika in her 5th race ever. So we're talking about really young crews, really new to the sport, and that's great for the growth of the sport. Poland coming back in to women's bobsledding.
Yeah, it's really fantastic to see all these young teams here. You all have to start somewhere, and it's a really nice place to start a World Championships here in St. Moritz.
No kidding.
Really high there off the exit wall, which sends her into a bit of a skid as she comes through the snakes, getting the sled back online into Sunny.
Building her advantage very quickly over Georgeta Popescu.
Not bad lines, just a bit of a tap between Nash and Dixon as she comes into Horseshoe. Nice line.
4/10 up at the start, 8/10 up at Horseshoe.
Bit of a whack there off a Horseshoe, which sent her into a little bit of a domino effect through those 3 corners. Has the sled back online with a 1:13 speed.
Already doing 70 miles an hour, accelerating hard.
Nice line down into Marto. A lot of pressure through this corner here as you hit 136 kilometres.
That's 84.5 miles an hour in old money. 109.61. And that is her best run of the competition, and that's exactly what every coach wants, every driver, every athlete wants, is that continual incremental improvement. Now, as she gets more experience, the increments come down, but still, everybody's trying to be better today than they were yesterday.
Yeah, that's exactly right here. And your first World Championships, all you want to be doing is getting better and better and better. And the more experience you have on this track, the quicker you're going to be able to adapt to the different changes that the corners have. But because she doesn't have that much experience, she's still probably learning how to drive this track from run to run. So to have your best run on the last heat is a fantastic job.
Yeah. She's trusting the feel that she's getting for this place, and that is great to see. So 2 sleds down, Poland our leader from Romania, and the first of our 2 US sleds is Riley Compton with Emily Renner. Riley, first World Cup season, so most of these European tracks she's competing on will be very new to her. Just 25 years of age and only in her 3rd full season of sliding.
Not bad around that first kink there, just trying to get the sled straight as she comes around the second kink, heading down into wall corner. Really low, she has her eyes just peeking over the cowling there. Nice work, she's 3.5 tenths up. A bit high off of wall there, but she didn't do too bad as she heads down into the into the snakes, now into Sunny. Nice exit up a little bit early on to Nash and then Dixon, but she managed it not too bad, coming down into Horseshoe. Bit of that medium line there we seem to see from the Americans. Bit high on the exit of it, Telephone and Shamrock. Coming now through Devil's Dyke into Nameless and Tree. Not too bad as she comes down into the bottom section. Really hard steering off those bottom corners, which is sending her sled into that right-hand side wall. Bit of a skid as she comes off into Martineau. She probably just needs to be a little bit smoother off those corners because it did damage her speed a bit, and she now has dropped back behind the Polish team.
Yeah, 1:10.16. That was actually her slowest trip down this track of the weekend, so she'll be disappointed to lose any spots at all. You never want to see anything in the final run other than a single digit, which means you are still in first place.
A little bit higher, she comes around on the exit. She really had to work off it. She got a big flop coming down off of Horseshoe, and then it just cascades down from Telephone into Shamrock.
Yeah, just overdriving a little, Riley Compton.
Still
really
smiling,
yeah,
though.
But,
Still smiling.
It's the final run. Everybody's trying to find that little bit extra and just overstep the mark. Next up for Italy, Chiara Andreucci and Tania Vicenzino, both of whom have been drivers in the past. Now they've decided that Chiara is going to drive and Tania is going to remain in the back of the sled as they build up the Italian programme towards the next Winter Games in Milan Cortina 26. 15th place after 3 of our 4 heats, and they had a 1/4 second advantage over Riley Compton.
Just getting around that first kink, and sure she's going to manage to put her pilot bar down as she comes now through the second kink, just getting the sled going straight now. She's had a pretty good World Championships. They start 18th best start and then 16th best downtime on the first day. Really high on the exit of wall there. She now comes down through the snakes, skidding a little bit and just getting hooked up before Sunny there. Not too bad early on to Nash and then Dixon, which has sent the sled a little bit squirrely, but now she's got it going straight in through Horseshoe.
Low line, but nice and smooth. Through Telephone, Shamrock tapped away into Devil's Dyke.
Not too bad. Now she comes into the bottom section. She comes down into Bridge and then Leap. And then into Gunter Sachs, getting sucked back into the corner nicely. Nice straight line coming into Martineau.
She only had 2 tenths in hand over our Polish leaders after 3 heats. She has extended that, 1:10.14.
Nice run there. Really nice run to finish on there for your World Championships, Giada. Good job.
Beg your pardon, it was 1.2 seconds rather than a couple of tenths. So she extends her advantage, or in fact drops a little of time to Wyszewski, but she remains in the top spot with 4 sleds down.
Getting a little bit hooked up there on the cowling, and that's probably why she didn't get into the sled quick enough. But she didn't panic. She went around the first kink, left her pilot bar out, and got it down when she was settled into the straight.
The Italians have completed their World Championships and they now go to the leaders' box as Slovakia's Victoria Cernanska, the silver medalist in the 2020 Youth Olympic Games, with her brakewoman Lucia Mokrasova, both debutants at the World Championship level. Let's see what they can produce with this final run.
Victoria had a very, very good third heat. They had 17th best start time, but had 14th best down time. That was really excellent from Victoria. She's coming along really nicely.
Brakewoman Lucia starting just her third ever bobsleigh race in this World Championships. She's raced in Winterberg and Altenburg once each.
Nice work. She's a little bit high, but she managed to avoid the wall. She comes down through the snakes into Sunny, still with 3.5 lead.
She had 2400s in hand over Giada Andriuti from the first 3 heats, and she continues to hold more than that in her pocket.
Nice line as she comes down through Telephone and Shamrock. Just a little bump, not too bad. Really good job as she comes down into the bottom section of the track. She's doing really, really well. This is very impressive from the young pilot.
Full mile an hour, quicker than anybody else through the forest and building that speed. She's certainly developing quickly, Victoria Cernanska.
Really nice run here. She should be really proud of this.
Still just 20 years old, 109.72. That's a really good run.
Yeah, no, Coach Milan is really happy with that one, and he should be. It was a really nice run from the youngster.
Milan Janishak, one of the mainstays of Slovakia's bobsleigh over the last few years. Kept flying the flag in the men's competition. Now Victoria Cernanska, just 20 years old, still developing as a driver, as an athlete, so can expect a lot more from her in the years to come.
It's really great that so many ex-pilots come back as coaches and are able to help the new generation of bobsledders. So it's really great to see, and it's so surprising actually. Like, there's lots of pilots that return, and they just do such a great job of coaching the new athletes.
Victoria Cernanska, our leader after the first 5 sleds. First of our 2 Canadian entries, Bianca Ribby and Erica Voss.
Ribby had an excellent third heat. She had 12th best start time with the 6th best down time. Really good job from Ribby. I'm sure she's hoping to be able to produce a similar run here.
Driving debut for Bianca Ribby. She has competed once in the Worlds in Whistler in 2019 in the teams competition when she was a brakeman with Alicia Rissling driving. And Erica Voss in her second Worlds. She raced with Cynthia Appia in Altenburg 21.
It's a very, very close race between Ribby and Nicole Vogt, so I'm sure she's going to be wanting to stretch her lead, stretch herself to be able to get in front of Nicole with this run.
And just ahead of Nicole Vogt is Anja Greco of Romania as well, so there's a potential of a double scalp. If she has a great 4th run, she could move up a couple of spots.
She isn't doing too bad here. She now comes down into the bottom section of the track. She had a really good run in the third heat at the bottom section of the track, letting the sled fly a little bit as she comes down into Martineau. Bit of a wave through there, but she manages the exit well as she comes down into Portago.
109.41, that's a good run. Only a tenth slower than her first today. She finished in 9th place in the Monobob competition last weekend.
And that's excellent for Ribby. She actually, overall, it would have been 8th place, and she now gets karting for Canada, and that's great for these new pilots who haven't received much support before. Now she does, and so that's fantastic that she's going to be able to continue in the future seasons.
As a World Cup debutante, she really showed everybody who Bianca Ribby was, leading the Monobob the very first race of the season in Whistler.
She's had a fantastic season.
Yeah, she has.
To win the first Monobob World Cup race, and she should be really proud of what she's been able to achieve here too.
And the World Cup season continues next week in Innsbruck and a week after in Sigulda before we go to post-season training. Next up for the USA, Nicole Vogt and Jasmine Jones. Again for Nicole, like her teammate Riley Compton, it is a first year as a full World Cup driver, and the snow is starting to come down.
I was just going to mention that, and that's going to make things very interesting. You want to, as a pilot, get off very quick when the snow's there, because the little snowflakes start to fill the grooves, and it can make it a little bit tricky to get some good starts.
And also, if they're getting into the spikes, you run the risk of slipping. The other thing that it does is it lubricates the track a little bit and makes it even harder for control.
Nice job here. She comes down into the wall corner. She has extended her lead to 1100ths.
Yeah, she was 300ths ahead of Bianca Ribbi after 3 runs, so that's 100th of a second per run, and they added another 200ths at the start.
She's doing a really good job here. A little bit of a skid as she comes through Nash and Dixon. Now down into Horseshoe.
Now, Nicole doesn't know this track well, but she's been driving bobsleds for over a decade, and that knowledge and that kind of history allows her to adapt perhaps quicker than some of her rivals.
Definitely experience is key, especially on a track like this. And she's holding her lead as she comes now down to the bottom section of the track, building her speed, building that lead that she had on Ribbi from the 3rd heat.
Looks like she is going to extend her advantage maybe as much as 0.2 of a second over Bianca Ribbi, and 1700ths at the line, 109.27, and that puts pressure on the next sled, Andrea Grecu. Well, you can see friends and family here. Hey, do you want to come to the World Championships in Altenburg? Yeah, okay, Samrit. Oh, we're there.
Yeah, certainly. You don't want to miss it. And the crowds are building here because after this race, we have the 4-man to come. So they're just here to see the exciting 4th heat of this race, and it really is going to be exciting.
Yeah, probably is. There's going to be a sting in the tail. I just sort of sense that this is not going to be drama-free.
Great job, girls. Well done on your world champs.
So Nicole Vogt, Jasmine Jones are in the leaders box for the USA, and that is pressure for Andrea Grecu. She had a horrible run into the first corner, which is a left-hander turning right into the wall before they even got there. So with Teodora Vlad, they've got experience. This is Andrea's 4th race here in St. Moritz as a driver, probably her 8th or 9th in total, as she was a brakewoman before, but she has not found the pace this year that we expected. She was only 14th in mono, and she lies in 11th place here. She would have been hoping for at least a top 10 in both.
Much better load than in the first heat. She was able to get in and down and around that first corner much, much better.
And that means she's got better speed coming down this short straight into the first significant corner.
Not a bad line, a little bit wavy. She comes out into wall. She didn't manage to get away from the wall there, and she comes now down through the sides. You can see her back end is just skidding out a little bit. It seems to be a little bit loose as she now comes into Nash and Dixon.
She's got the front runners going where she wants, but the back runners are not following.
Yep, and she's now down through Horseshoe. She's still able to hold her lead over, and she gets a little bit of a tap out of Shamrock, but not too bad. Hopefully she's rewarded it for that at the bottom.
Boy, she needs to be clean here. She's not been great on these 4 right-hand corners.
Much better run than in the first heat. She's got a lot smoother as she's now coming down into Martineau.
Skidding again. There was only a 10th in it coming out of the Gunter Sachs curve at 1900. She takes the lead.
Oh, and her coach, Paul Niago, is very happy about that.
God, he's so passionate, Paul Niago. He has been a driver and a coach for the last 20-plus years. His son was a driver and is now a coach.
And he's one of the most entertaining coaches in the coaches box, that's for sure.
And he really is bringing on this Romanian team still. More and more youngsters coming through.
Much better load there from the girls. She was able to get in, down, put down her pilot bar and manage that first corner much better. A little bit high on the exit of wall. It's really tricky, that corner this year. And the key is the entry. If you get the entry right, the rest of the corner follows. But if you miss that entry steer, then it just makes the rest of the corner really difficult, and it's about minimizing the mistake at the end.
Our first 8 sleds are down in the Women's Bobsleigh World Championship. The final 10 sleds of the Worlds are getting ready as a few flakes of snow gently drift down from the cloud cover over the town of St. Moritz. Where St. Moritz down to Celerina, they've been racing. Well, officially, the St. Moritz Bob Club was in existence in November 1897, so it's now 125 years old, but they were racing, well, down the streets of St. Moritz before that, and then down the hillside from when they started building an official track down to the bottom of the valley, in almost the bottom of the valley in Celerina. So this is a historic place. If you look at the footage of the 48 Winter Games, that round tower on the left-hand side of your shot and the small building behind it, the white part, those existed in 1948. All the rest of this has grown ever since. So you've got the Bob Cafe, the Dracula Club on the back of that, built by Gunter Sachs, after whom our anti-penultimate corner is named. He was also a man who owns the building that was used as the headquarters of the curling sheet on the right-hand side of the track as the athletes come down out of the first couple of corners. And his son, Rolf, now lives there, has restored that building as well to its pristine glory, and it's still got a big curling sheet outside.
There's so much history here, and I've loved learning about it this weekend. I love being up the top, and I was talking with John Morgan, and he was telling me all the stories about this track. And it just, the more times you come here and you speak to the people who have been around here for years and years, you just learn so much, and it's such an amazing place to come.
In fact, there's still a curling sheet in town. The German coaches and staff have an annual curling match when they're here in St. Moritz. I don't know who won money. That has yet to be fully revealed, but we'll try and get down to the details of that. BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Championships in St. Moritz. I'll leave out the word sunny for today because snow is tumbling from the clouds. Final 10 sleds to go, and we are in the top 10 with the first of our two Chinese pairs, Wai Mingming and her new brakewoman this season, Wang Zhuan.
Nice job, girls, as they come around that first corner. She's able to, she went into a little bit of a skid, but was able to get the sled going nice and straight as she comes down into wall corner with the best velocity. Nice work as she comes through wall. Bit of a wave here with a little bit of height on the end, but she just taps and squares her up going into the snakes. Little bit of a tap. You can hear, St. Moritz is so quiet, you can hear when the sleds make mistakes. Even if you don't see it on camera, you can hear it, just a sled tapping here and there as she now comes down into horseshoe. Not a bad line.
She's 1400ths and 2 sleds behind her teammate Ying Qing. So for the two Chinese drivers, that's the real battle. Everybody else is pretty much secondary.
Fourth best speed as she now comes down into the bottom section of the track, trying to be nice and smooth off these corners. Really straight, lovely line as she comes into Martina. Fourth best speed.
Sweeping out of the final corner, 109.23. That was a decent looking run. Is it enough to catch Ying Qing? They've sort of swapped positions through the heats. Ying had a much better third run, and Wai just hauling it into the first corner, costing herself speed on the third run. There's her coach just trying to build confidence in these athletes, trying to get them to really work it out for themselves, as well as using his advice.
Not a bad line as she comes down through horseshoe. And she did really good, really nice work here. A little bit late into Shamrock, which would have sent her high, and a big hard tap there, so that's maybe where she lost her speed. But it wasn't a bad run, and these girls should be happy with their World Championships.
Wang Zhuan on the left, Wai Mingming on the right, our current leaders, as Canada's Cynthia Appia and Niamh Hockey come to the line. And again, the moment you get that bell to say the track is clear, away you go. The train leaves the station. Minimise the amount of snowfall.
A 5:53 start for these girls, and she navigated that first corner very nicely as she now comes really straight, nudging the sled over so she can get that early entry onto wall corner.
Not quite sure how our Swiss track announcer is dealing with Niamh Hockey. He's a bit better with Cynthia and Appia. Nice looking run so far.
Not too bad. She's got the sled much more stable this run, which is really good to see, learning from that first heat. She actually had quite a good time in the first heat with the 7th best start and 7th best down time. Very high in the end of Shamrock with a really hard hit there.
Did have 4th best speed, That is not going to maintain all the way down here. She's losing speed from those big hits, and again...
Just a little bit impatient off these bottom corners, which means that she's tapping the right wall as she comes down into Martina with the 5th best speed.
Trying to hurry the sled. She will be ahead of Wai Ming Ming. Does she catch Ying Qing in the next sled? We'll wait and see. 109.23. The Chinese pair came down in a 109.23. So she maintains her lead, and that is a guaranteed top 10 finish for Cynthia Appia. Her World Championship best was 9th in Altenburg last time out, 2021. She will be no worse than 9th here.
Really high on the exit of Shamrock. She really just needed to drive it out there, but seemed to miss that a little bit. And just a little bit impatient on these bottom corners. You really have to be nice and smooth to elongate that corner to build the speed. But I think that the girls should be really happy to make that top 10.
Well, she ties at least her best World Championship result. Her first ever Worlds was in Altenburg 21. Ooh, yeah, right. Clicking the visor in place to make sure it doesn't drop off. Extra bit of tape there to try and hold it in. So Ying Qing with Wang Yu behind her.
Ying has had a very good World Champs. They have 10th best starts, and she drives herself into 9th position. See how she goes on this run here.
It's actually her 4th World Championship. She's the most experienced of the Chinese drivers. They didn't compete in 2021. She was 10th in Altenburg in 2020. So at the moment, she is on target to improve on that. 8th after 3 runs.
Nice work getting that early entry onto wall. Not too bad. Bit high on the end here. She doesn't manage to get away from the wall in between, but comes straight down into Sunny.
She only had 300s in hand over Cynthia Appia from the first 3 heats, and that has disappeared. She's now nearly 2 tenths back, heading to Horseshoe.
Really nice line, but drives it down really hard, and it's just going to have a domino effect as she goes through Telephone and Shamrock. Really high on the Devil's Dyke there, but now coming down into the bottom section, she's still behind Cynthia as she's steering down into Martineau. Nice line.
The critical thing now is not to drop behind Wai Ming Ming. There are only 1100s behind between Cynthia Appia and Wai Ming Ming. She's 5th best run. She is 400s ahead of her teammate over 4 runs down the track. So Appia moves up, but in the battle of the Chinese drivers, Ying by 400s.
And that's crazy.
1,850 meters a trip.
Crazy to think this track is so long, but still the races are between hundredths of a second.
Yeah. 100th per run is the difference between the 4 Chinese drivers on average.
She just let the sled come around a little bit too far in Horseshoe there and really had to drive it down, and she ultimately hit the wall and it cascaded down. But good job, girls. Really nice World Champs.
Same as with Wai Ming Ming. Did not trust the process. They both ripped it down off Horseshoe. So Cynthia Appia leads with 7 to go. She's already on a best ever result in the Worlds. What about Martina Fonteneva? The last time I think we will see her drive a bobsled with Mara Morel behind her. 5:59 getaway, their fastest in the competition.
Oh, the girls have given it everything they've got for this last run here. Martina has been doing a great job so far with having to drive herself from 11th best start down into this 8th or 7th position. She didn't manage to squeeze away from the wall there, but she isn't doing too bad. She's going to be using her experience from being a local athlete, but she has dropped behind Cynthia. Cynthia had a very good 4th run, and Martina is going to have to learn from her knowledge of this track to be able to get in front and use the speed at the bottom to get in front of Cynthia.
5th World Championship since her debut in Koenigsegg 2017. Her best ever result was Altenburg 2020. She was 7th. She crashed out in 21. She's bringing it back.
This is what I'm talking about. The experience that she has on this track. She's going to be able to find speed at the bottom. This is going to be very tight. She's jumped back into the lead with the 4th best speed.
She's going to be very close. We've seen lots of positions decided by 103 tenths. Oh, boy.
Wow. She found the speed at the bottom.
Listen to the crowd.
really good. She has driven herself into this world champs. They didn't quite have the start times, but she certainly had the drives here. Really good world champs for Martina. And if this is her last race, what a race to finish on.
10th in the Winter Games in February 2022. Equals her best ever World Championship finish here in St. Moritz. That is a great way to end a fun career for Martina Fonteneva. If we don't see her in Innsbruck and Sigulda, I wouldn't be surprised, but this will be, I'm sure, her final World Championship drive. There's Mara Morel. I wonder if she's going to end up starting to drive sleds as well. She definitely has time and speed on her side. So, 6 to go. We have 3 German sleds as we battle for our top 6 positions. This is the junior world champion Maureen Zimmer in monobob and women's bobsleigh, with Lauren Siebert also making her world championship debut behind her driver.
The girls have had unbelievable starts here for such a young team to be hitting the fastest start times.
Handle dropped in there just as Maureen was loading.
And Maureen just didn't have the third heat that I'm sure she was looking for. She was so skiddy down these long straightaways, but she's got the sled going much better this run, and hopefully she's going to be able to improve on that third heat. Little bit of wavy and really high in the exit of wall. And really high again on the snakes, and she's just losing the back end of the sled just a little bit as she now comes down through into Devil's Dyke. Into Nash and Dixon.
Potentially, she could drop behind Martina Fonteneva here. She has a real horror story. It's tidying up the act, though. This is better.
This is much better than her third heat. She's going to be really happy she's able to hold this. Not too bad as she comes into Nameless and Tree, still holding that 4/10 lead over Martina.
Third best speed, that is quicker than Fonteneva was at this stage, so she will end up in the top 6.
Skid as she goes into Martina, wow.
Well, Martina found 3/10 in the final split, and at the line, she's 3200s up, 108.99.
And congratulations on your first World Champs, girls. It's amazing to be able to come here after winning World Juniors and to be able to lay down the first run. And Maureen looks much happier with that run, and
Double
she should be.
junior world champion, top 6 in the world. That is a great weekend she's had here. Watch the bar, though. Watch the push handle. She's leaning on it just as she's releasing weight. Yes, I wondered if her thumb had got caught.
Fingers, she got her fingers there. Maybe her knee got hooked on the latch there, and it just meant that the push bar came down just before she was loaded.
Really trapped her thumb, and her full weight was on it as well. Yikes. Now then.
Look at her eyes. Can you tell that she's ready to put down the run of her life?
Possibly
I think so.
the most improved driver in the field right here, Margot Bock and Carla Seneschal. And that's before we even talk about how much better their starting has been this season. The French are in 5th position in a sled that Monaco had a great result with Boris Vanin in the 2-man.
Oh, she's gone into a bit of a skid here. Hopefully she can square it up here, because she's going to have to lay down a run of her life if she is to move up. But she's had a fantastic World Championships. 5th best downtime in that third heat.
She had nearly half a second over Maureen Zimmer, but another long skid from Margot. Calm yourself down, though, Margot.
She hasn't quite got control of the sled like she did in that first heat, but hopefully she can use her experience from luge to be able to get the sled going straight, because that's what luge athletes can do. They know where they make the mistakes, and they know how to fix it quickly.
And breathe in the leader's box. Best speed, Margot Bock has stabilised the ship.
The lead is dropping, so hopefully she's going to be able to find some speed at the bottom as she now comes down into the bottom section of the track. She's doing fantastic. Oh, bit of a skid as she goes into Martineau. The only second best speed. It's going to be so
100th,
close.
isn't it? It's not. I don't think she's got the speed. Oh, 700 she does.
Just so
look at Bruno Michon. Look at Bruno Michon.
Oh, I'm sure they were sweating as she was coming down. The mistakes at the top of the track. She would have known that she needed to pull it together as fast as she could so she can lay it down. And look, there's her dad able to celebrate with her at the bottom.
World Championship debut, Altenberg 21. She was 15th. She will be no worse than 5th.
Fantastic.
That is some improvement.
Oh, that's so exciting to see. Margot was one of the athletes that I started bobsleigh with back in the day, and she has come so far, and it's so exciting to see.
What a fantastic weekend.
It's so great that he can be here and supporting the girls so much. Congratulations, girls. Really good job.
Now then, 4th on the fringes of the medals, Melanie Hassler and Nadia Pasternak. They are not going to grab a medal on pace. What they could do is help to pile the pressure on the remaining 3 sleds.
Nice work as she goes around in a 5:54 start for the girls. They're really in no man's land here. They just want to be able to continue to secure that 4th place spot for them.
Bit of a hard hit on that first little dink has not helped their speed.
Oh, really high on the end of wall there, but Mel's experience here on her home track is she's able to get the sled back online as she comes down through into Sunny.
And again, talk about improvement. Altenburg 21, they were 14th. They are looking at finishing no worse than 4th here. Again, like Margot Bock, a 10-spot improvement.
Really great job. I mean, it's a completely different track to Altenburg, we must say. But Mel is having a fantastic World Championships here, especially in the 2-man as she now comes down into the bottom section.
She is flying.
Mel knows how to drive this track. Yesterday in the 4th heat, she had the best downtime, and she's doing a fantastic job with the top speed as she comes down into the bottom corners. A little bit skiddy, but not too bad, and she is able to hold that 4th spot.
So guaranteed at least 4th place, a 10-place improvement in 2 seasons on her last World Championship outing. Humphries, as I am contractually obliged to say at this stage. 3 to go. Switzerland's Melanie Hassler has the lead, and Bree Walker is rubbing her hands with glee.
This is going to be so exciting. These top 3, nobody knows what's going to happen, and that is the thrill of this. You have Kaylee Humphries, who's been multiple-time world champion. You have Lisa Bokvitz, new to the World Championship as a pilot, but you also have the experience of Kim Kalicki. Never know, but my girl, you have done so well. Congratulations on your world champs.
Melanie Hassler, Nadia Pasternak lead, 3 to go. So a 4-time world champion, including once here in 2013. Kaylee Humphries, Keisha Love behind her. A double Olympic champion, Monobob, world and Olympic champion. There's nothing this woman has not won. She is without question, by a big margin, the most experienced bobsled driver in the field, and possibly in the entire weekend. She started probably even before Francesco Friedrich. Can she add yet another, a 5th World Championship title?
They get in and down as the snow is also coming down, but she handled that first corner very well with a 5:49 start. Really great job for the girls.
She had top speed at the bottom of the track on the last run. She absolutely dream drove that first kink. Her job now is to put down a run that makes the German drivers worry.
And she is doing just that. Nice square tap as she comes through the snakes, now down into Sunny. Really doing a good job here as she comes through Nash and Dixon.
And as conditions change and the track feels different, her experience is going to help her react, and what a great drive so far.
Really doing a good job. Just a normal tack as she comes through Shamrock, now into Devil's Dyke and Nameless.
Equal top speed with Melanie Hassler. Equal top speed still with Melanie Hassler.
Nice work. She's so beautiful through the lower part of this track. It's really awesome to see. Top speed as she now comes down into the last corner.
Driving herself into, at the very least, a bronze medal, Kaylee Humphries, 108.60.
And the coaches look very happy with that. Congratulations, girls. That is a fantastic second day here.
Well, Kaylee won the last 2 World Championships in Altenburg against the Germans. Kim Kalicki taking 2 silvers. Lauren Alter, bronze last time out. Christina de Bruin, bronze the year before that. But Kaylee, that was a big way, a big day to end the Worlds. She knows she's got a medal. The question is, how do her rivals respond to this?
We are in for a hell of a run here. Kaylee did such a good job. to be able to lay down that fourth run. Just her experience is just able to keep her head steady, and she did a fantastic job there.
Okay, we know that Kaylee did not crack. Pressure is now on. Lisa Bokvitz, the overnight leader, and the final sled, her teammate Kim Kilicki. Bokvitz comes in 600 out of her first World Championships in the front seat.
Got a little bit hooked up there on the first corner, but the sled straightened itself out. Only third best velocity there.
Cannot afford a single mistake. This is clean so far.
Really good job. She's 2/10 still up ahead of Kaylee. Bit of height coming out of wall. Not too bad as she comes through the snakes now down into Sunny. Still got the exact same lead over Humphries.
We've said it all season, I'll say it again. In February, she was an Olympic brakewoman for the final time. This year is her first full season driving in public view, and she is potentially going to become a world champion. Best speed of all in the forest.
Not too bad as she comes down into the bottom section. She's now starting to pull away here. Little bit of a wave through bridge as she now comes down to leap and into Saxon. Just a little bit impatient off those bottom three corners, but still top speed as she comes down into Portago.
Unbelievable stuff. She takes the lead from Katie Humphries, doubles her advantage, 1:08.32. That's 2/10 quicker than her first run this morning.
Really
Lisa
good job.
Bokvitz, a rookie driver, unbelievable ability to keep calm under pressure.
2 medals at your first World Champs as a pilot. She should be so happy with that.
Now, I know she's an Olympic champion brakewoman, but she has never had any World Championship medal as a brakewoman. Can you believe that's a fact?
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And to be able to come in, she has been driving for a few years, but she's come in first year on a full World Cup circuit and now has won 2 medals at her first World Champs as a pilot. Congratulations, girls.
1 to go. Is this the one that is decided by 100th? They're close enough as it is. 600s the advantage for Kim Kilicki. She was 500s back overnight with Leonie Fiebig behind her. They are the leaders. They are 1 minute, 8 seconds and change away from gold if she holds it together.
Little bit of a bump as she comes around that first kink with a 5:47 getaway. Only third best velocity, but they're off to a great start here.
Same start as Bokvitz and Lipperheider. They have their advantage intact. It is still 600ths of a second.
Bit high off the exit of wall there, but she squared itself out as she heads down into the snakes.
Brianna Walker's got her hands on her heads watching this. Kim Kilicki is creeping away from Lisa Bokvitz.
Oh, Kim, come on, hold it together, girl, as she now comes down into Horseshoe. Nice line as she comes around. Really beautiful. A 10th up now as she comes. Only second best speed.
Tapping a skid in Devil's Dyke. This is going to be close.
It's going to be really close. The cap's coming down, even though she has the top best speed. Only 700ths between the girls.
This is for the gold medal for the World Championship 2023. She's got the best speed of all. She's got a slender advantage. She does not skid. It is gold for Kim Kilicki and Leonie Fiebig. It is silver for Lisa Bokvitz and Kira Lipperheider. And Kaylee Humphries and Kosha Love add to their World Cup wins this season with a World Championship bronze. But Kim Kilicki, silver in the last 2 seasons with 2 different brakemen, takes gold. And for Leonie Fiebig, hands over her face. That is a first ever World Championship medal, and it is a gold.
Really great job. Leonie was a spare at the Olympics here, so I'm sure this is means so much to her to be able to win gold here with Kim. Kim also placed 4th at the Olympics, so to come back this year, both of those girls, and just triumph over all.
And the first to congratulate them, Lisa Bokvitz, and closest to us, Kira Lipperheider. And that is what you expect. They encourage, they compete against, but they bolster each other.
Oh, I'm
That's what the best teams do. I know you are. I know you are. Well, that makes two of us.
Oh, it's so fantastic to see, just to know the backstories of these girls and what they've had to go through to win gold here today is just so amazing. And I'm so proud of them, and congratulations, girls. It was one hell of a race here.
Well, Kim Killicky, the silver medalist in the last two World Championships, takes the gold with Leonie Fiebig behind her. It was tight all the way, 0.05 of a second over 4 trips down St. Moritz. If you're going to win your first World Championships anywhere, this is probably even sweeter than doing it on home ice, because this is really no one's home ice. Melanie Hassler, 4th placed, a career high. Margot Bock, 5th placed, a career high. And the junior world champion Maureen Zimmer in 6th, ahead of Martina Fonteneva, Cynthia Appia, Ying Qing, and behind her in 10th place, her teammate Wai Ming Ming. So both Chinese sleds in the top 10. And that is an impressive performance from both of them. Angia Grecu, a disappointing worlds for her in the mono and in the 2-seat sled. Nicole Vogt, the 2nd best of the North American sliders, ahead of Bianca Ribby, the 3rd best, I beg your pardon. Cynthia Appia ahead of her in the top 10. And our youth contingent at the tail of the field have another decade of sliding on their side, at least, over the likes of Kaylee Humphries, our bronze medalist. Certainly, I don't suppose that we will see her much beyond Milano Cortina 2026. But nevertheless, she will still be a fierce competitor as she hunts for her 3rd Olympic gold. She's the only woman to have won more than one Olympic bobsleigh gold medal, and she will be hunting for a 3rd in Milan Cortina, and that will be 12 years after her last in Sochi. A little bit of light snow in the end did not affect the race at all, I don't think. Our front runners proved exactly why they were there overnight. And there are your gold and silver medal winning teams. And Kaylee Humphries and Keisha Love on the right-hand side taking the bronze. So a great race result for Kim Killicky and Leonie Fiebig. There they are. And look at the relief. I mean, how you hold it together under that pressure, I just don't know.
It comes with years of experience, I'm sure. Kim has had a lot of experience, obviously being silver at the last few World Champs. So happy for her that she's able to come away with the gold just after the years of hard work. And Leonie too, always working hard, one of the hardest working brakemen on the German team. Really happy for them.
And now the tears come, and rightly so, for Kim Killicky and Leonie Fiebig, our world champions. That is it for the women's World Championship competitions. The monos last week, the 2-seat sleds this week. And now we get to the big ones, to the 4-bangers. The Königsklasse. It starts at 1 local, 12 GMT. Join us then. Until then, for Bree Walker and the IBSF team, Martin Haven saying thank you for joining us. We will see you for the 4-man. Bye for now.
Der Hinweis zur Siegerehrung. Die Siegerehrung, die findet heute Abend auf der Medal Plaza statt. Das ist bei der großen Bühne da des Zieles. 16:30 Uhr bis 17:45 Uhr das Konzert des City Orchestra. Und wie gesagt, 18 Uhr die Siegerehrung, die Preisverteilung im Zweierbob der Frauen. Würde uns natürlich sehr freuen, wenn Sie uns da bei der Siegerehrung die Ehre erweisen können. Besten Dank.
Chicky. Ready
Chicky.
when you are.
Kim Kilicki, Leonie Vierbig, world champions. How does it feel?
Oh, incredible. I'm so happy. I can cry and yeah, just happy.
The final day, you took the lead. You had Kaylee behind you putting on the pressure. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, I talked yesterday to Francesco. He gave me a few tips and today was much better than yesterday. So yeah, I think we did a great job.
And Leonie, this is your first World Championship medal. How sweet does that feel?
Oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't even believe it. When I saw the one that we are first, I couldn't. It's still like a dream, and I'm so happy that she did it so well and we did so good at the start. And yeah, that it feels so good. I don't have words, as you see.
More fun than Carnival?
What?
More fun than Carnival?
Yeah. I have to say, kind of, yes. A different fun.
World champions, enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.